YouTube. Happy Sunday. Welcome back, everybody. We are officially live for our go around 2 of today's video topic, which is the quarantine and your hormones, particularly the quarantine impact. And I have Instagram on. They've been great. And we are really going to delve into the topic at hand of your hormones and how the quarantine and the change of scheduling and the stress is playing in imbalancing 3 core hormones. And so if you are new joining us, or we're picking you back up on the second try of our live show this morning, welcome. For all of you joining, I'm Dr. Melissa Gallagher. I'm a naturopathic physician. I focus on functional medicine and utilizing my training and background to balance the root cause of illness and disease. Simply put, I assess what is imbalanced and utilize an assortment of natural modalities and herbals and compounds and food and all sorts of therapies to help balance your body. And right now we're dealing with a lot of stress from the quarantine. And this is globally. I mean, I have viewers and tune in, all of you tuning in on YouTube. Comment down below. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Same on Instagram. We have a very large international community. And this affects everybody universally. This affects men. It affects women and teens. So make sure you grab your partners, your teens. For YouTube, give me a big thumbs up. Let's get this kind of moving in the algorithm. Hit the share button and ask your hormone questions away. Ask away. I have literally 3 to 4 pages of notes and information we are going to go through. We're going to talk about test kits. We're going to talk about things you can eat, things to avoid, and really break down the 3 kind of core hormones that get imbalanced when we are dealing with any type of stressor. And before our first video kind of cut off, I was mentioning for folks who are new, I hope you will subscribe to our channel. This is a live show and the format's a little different. It's more engaging because the goal of this live show is for folks in the live setting to be able to communicate with each other, and we're a community that comes together digitally. And usually there's about 200 to 300 of us at any given time. Generally, there's about 3,000 to 4,000 people who watch this feed every morning. And so it's a way for us to stay connected and to offer encouragement, guidance, and empowerment to help you be healthier and to lead your family through this perilous time, and for me to equip you with resources. So if you're excited about that and you're new, I hope you'll join or follow us here on Instagram. Hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Make sure you hit the little notification bell and click all notifications. For those of you watching on the replay, comment in the comment box below and let me know where you're watching this, as well as any hormone-specific questions you have. A lot of times the comments from both Instagram and YouTube, it is fodder for me. It's topic conversations, and I utilize your questions to format our next live shows, and really it's an engagement that encourages the content. So I am grateful for that. And thanks to all of you too for sticking with us. Crazy live shows. I don't know what's going on with YouTube, but it took me a little while to get back on. So welcome everybody. So let's hit the news real quickly, and then we're going to move right on into hormones and your health. So we saw our greatest increase here in the US. We had over 34,000 new cases added. So we're at 311,000 cases, and it is in that exponential growth mode. There are some good news points here that I want to share. On Friday, the US excluded Purell, the hand sanitizer company. They have some parts that are part of their pumps. I think like the little pump mechanism comes from China. So tariffs were holding up those parts. And so Purell is ready to go, but they need the stuff to put so we can pump it out and get where they can, put it to where it needs to go, hospitals and to our Targets and, Walgreens and CVS's. So Purell the tariffs were lifted, and those items are being shipped to the Purell distribution warehouse place, I think in Ohio. So that's good news. Sanitizing solutions are coming our way because of that. And this is kind of an innovation that I think is pretty exciting. the nurses are starting to use two-way baby monitors to be able to monitor and communicate with patients without necessarily having to go into the room, which is kind of crazy. It's like people are in, isolation, and they are, but it's a way for nurses not to have to put on new PPE because it's so limited, and they are utilizing that as a resource. So, so that's kind of exciting. And Georgia, I see Birdhouse Barbie, Atlanta, Georgia numbers the next hot house. So I actually am going to communicate 4 areas that are the hottest hotspots, actually apart from Atlanta. So in the Southeast, the Southeast has been slower to move with the quarantining mode, and there's this kind of denial happening, and there's still denial. Georgia, I was just invited to a backyard social distancing Easter party on Sunday. No. So, people still think it's okay to gather for some reason. So anyway, the Southeast, there are 4 towns that are heavily hit currently. They have the greatest mortality rates in connection to the quantity of cases. And 2 of them don't even have facilities in those areas. Either the county does not have a health facility, or they don't have a hospital with ICU capacity. So, in the hospital world, not every hospital treats traumatic injuries, and there's kind of scaling. So a lot of these rural communities, they don't even have the right hospital equipment and resources in the hospital. So the most heavily hit is in New Orleans. It's St. John the Baptist Parish. They do not even have a hospital or medical facility where these patients can go. And they have a really high number of individuals. Norfolk and the surrounding areas of Virginia are extremely hit. Albany, Georgia as well. That's north of Tallahassee. That's where I went for my undergrad. So I'm a Florida State Seminole. Woo, go Noles. The Albany community has been really rocked. They are the hot spot in Georgia, just by the sheer numbers, and the mortality rate's really high. And they are all of these areas are extremely short-staffed, but they also are on minimal supply of the PPE and the resources like ventilation and whatnot that they need. Nashville, there's a city north of Nashville that is a hot spot. So it's really kind of interesting. There are big cities like New York City, but there are also some rural communities, and I'm sure that will come out to play. I mean, obviously New Orleans, we know that community for sure. Mardi Gras. Mardi Gras was a big spreading resource. So it's kind of crazy. And I see, let's see, MB Word 12000 says, we have the easiest job to just stay home. So sad. Do not gather. Thanks for info. Yes, absolutely. Sending safety from Maryland. We are shut down. My cousin report, and I'm sharing this. I don't even have an affiliate link on this one, but I'm sharing this with you because I know toilet paper. I read a whole article about toilet paper. So there's commercial production for like all of our places that we frequent at, like businesses. So, and that also is commercial, like doctor's offices and whatnot, restaurants. Well, that production is really slow, and almost there's no buying of paper in that commercial category. But the residential category, they said it's up by 40%, which 40% is a massive quantity. So you have people who maybe grab 2 things of toilet paper, 2, whatever, 8 packs, 16 packs, whatever. And that we're burning through that because we're spending all of our time at home, and we actually need that toilet paper. So that's the whole toilet paper thing too. I have to put that out there. But I want to tell you, on Office Depot website, I've had an Office Depot business account for a decade. I have a little app on my phone, and I always buy my supplies through the app. Most of the time I just pick up in store. Sometimes I'll do printing there as well. Well, through the app or online, you can go and you can search in toilet paper. They do store pickup, but they also do delivery. And there are 2 Charmin types. I think there are the 4 or 8 roll packs. They have a limit of 2, but you can buy 2 of each of them. So you can buy a total of 4 8 toilet paper packs, and it works out to be like $40. And I think they even give you free shipping. So I sent that. I bought some for us because we are kind of getting a little low. And I sent it to my cousin for his wife because she's gone like 3 or 4 times. The only time she's exited her house is on a hunt for toilet paper. So I was like, you can get toilet paper online. And so FYI to all of you who need toilet paper. So everybody who's coming back on YouTube, you haven't missed anything. I picked you back up. I don't know what happened. It just shut down. So we're back. We haven't started other than some of this news. The other thing to know is that, let's see, Missouri is going to be issuing a stay-at-home order. So Missouri becomes another state where they are going to be staying at home just like the rest of us. And hopefully all of you are considering wearing face masks. That's a big topic that I've been highlighting almost now a week. In the description box below for YouTube, there are all of the assorted Etsy stores, which, by the way, I introduced this before, but I'm wearing, let's see, sorry, Instagram, my battery's low. I'm wearing my Hanging with My Peep shirt. I'm supporting a lot of local businesses online because I get it. I'm a small business. So Etsy, a lot of Etsy links down below for face masks, and the Wild and Free, go online. So don't do any store shopping, friends. If you can, everything is so easily accessible online. Home Depot, Lowe's, you can have shipments delivered. So Office Depot, online, you can buy the smaller packs of Charmin, minimum of 2 per household. But you could, place an order for yourself, and you could even do one for your spouse or whatnot. So yeah, Missouri's finally on board. I know eye rolls everywhere. Eye rolls for Easter party gatherings, social distancing. It's just so insane to me. Yeah, so that's where we're kind of at. We've got, we are going to be in this phase probably until July. And then the prediction is we'll probably have another round of this in the fall or winter. So the sooner we can get out of this, actually, Kim, go online. Let me go back to the toilet paper. There's some debate about that. So in stores, it kind of depends on your store, but through their app. So download the app. It's totally free. You don't even have to set up an account. You can just use your PayPal to check out. But you have to scroll. It's at the very bottom. Nobody really knows about it. I've even picked up hand sanitizer through that. And I frequently check online. Same with Instacart. Felt like we kind of were like the connection had been lost. We were like floating on an island with all of our food. Instacart was offline for 4 or 5 days this week. But I kept looking, and then I've got some orders for us scheduled for Thursday delivery. So, things are going to be slower. You just have to kind of start to plan ahead if you don't already. So that's kind of where we're at. But today we're talking about hormones. So I just want to get a sense down below. And hi, welcome, Cheryl. She's a new watcher. Yay. I hope you subscribe, hit the subscribe button. I'm curious, how many of you are feeling like your hormones are taking a hit or are feeling some experience? Comment yes in the description box below. Give me some hearts on Instagram. If you feel like maybe for you ladies, your breasts are more tender, you might be feeling changes in your digestive process. You might be waking up between 2 and 4 a.m. in the morning. Hot flashes might be getting a little bit more intense. For men, they might be experiencing a little bit more urgency for urination. Maybe they're noticing some changes in their erectile function. Teenagers, maybe there's a little bit more PMS happening. Like parents are like, oh, okay, somebody is going to have their cycle start pretty soon. And this is very common also for us adults, men and women as well. Yes. So getting lots of yes, me, migraines, ears ringing, anxiety, depletion. Absolutely. OMG, I do feel hormones are all over. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. B word is 100% sleep patterns are worse. I started having cocktails every night. Think this is a huge contributor. Absolutely. I don't judge that, by the way. Teenagers are wild though. Me and pimples all over. Yes, hormones and adrenals. I feel better than before. Okay, that's good. And that might actually help in terms of we are at home or a little bit kind of more in control of our home environment, and we can sleep a little bit. Lois, always waking up at 2 a.m. At least I can watch you at 3 a.m. Oh gosh. Thanks, Lois. Lois is in Hawaii, so it's really early there. Kim, you're welcome. Yay, Houston. I have a big community in Houston that follows. Should everybody learn about grounding now, finally? Yeah, I hope so. Irregular periods is taking a toll on me. More hot flashes, waking up, not sleeping well. Okay, so yes, absolutely. So there are 3 core hormones that are getting really rocked right now. Number 1 and this, by the way, this is for men and women. A lot of times men think they don't have any of the female-oriented hormones, but they do. And women have the traditional male-associated hormone, testosterone. So the core 3 hormones that are getting really, really imbalanced, that are underlying and at the root of all of those things you're talking about. Number 1, progesterone. So that's the first one we're going to talk about, progesterone. 2, estrogen. Oh, Daisy wants to come say hi. Hi, puppy. We have 2, estrogen is a big one. And then 3, cortisol, which is the kind of chronic stress hormone. And that skews other hormones like testosterone. It also skews progesterone and estrogen. And most importantly, it's skewing your thyroid hormones. So we're going to dig into all of those. Okay, so you guys ready to go? I see a puppy dog tail here. This is my Daisy. Instagram can't really see her. Oh, there's the puppy dog tail. Okay, so Miss Daisy's hanging out with us this morning. And okay, so progesterone, let's talk about that. So progesterone imbalance is, let me just start this again. So I consider progesterone I consider it the most necessary of the hormones, and it's the weaker of hormones, meaning it can be easily set aside or metabolized to produce other hormones. So for most of us, it tends to be in some state of deficiency. And how I know that is we do a lot of testing. And I forgot to grab that one test kit back there, but I do saliva testing, saliva hormone testing. I do like blood spot where it's a little like pinprick kind of blood is collected on a little test paper, and we send that off to the lab. So a lot of these tests, if you feel you want to get tested in this time frame, we can do that. And the labs, they are running a little slower, but they are running labs for all of us, all of the doctors. So progesterone tends to it's a gentle hormone, but it controls a lot. So let me list off some of the symptoms of when progesterone is imbalanced. So you will experience fatigue when you have imbalances or low levels of progesterone. Migraines, brain fog. You'll be waking up between 2 and 4 a.m. in the morning. Hot flashes, vaginal dryness. For women, fibroids and endometriosis. For men, PSA levels that are elevated, incontinence, infertility, PMS, anxiety and depression, low libido, thyroid imbalances. It will also manifest in the beginning of the slow to develop bone mass. So folks that get diagnosed as osteopenia, it could be from low levels of progesterone. And this could be acute, like long-term, or it could be, a state of like menopause. That's an acute kind of change in your progesterone levels. Blood clotting issues, weight gain, fluid retention. Many of you know I'm a lymphatic therapist, so I work with folks that have a lymphatic disorder that causes them to hold fluid in their body. That plagues the body, and progesterone is a big factor in that. Also, for women, they might find that their breast tissue feels more dense, or they have tissue changes, sometimes changes on mammograms. The uterine lining changes. Maybe you've had to have a DNC, or have had to have certain procedures where we've managed your, endometrial lining. Endometriosis is a big factor. And this is the least tested hormone, particularly for women. So a lot of times you go to your doctor's office and they will test estrogen. And we have multiple estrogens, but they only test usually one. But they rarely really dig into your progesterone level. So progesterone, it's actually, all these hormones are manufactured by certain areas of our body. Progesterone is manufactured in the female ovaries. It's also manufactured in our adrenal glands. So men and women also produce progesterone in their adrenal glands. So you're going to hear me talk about the adrenal glands. They are a very powerful, important glandular hormone producer that is at the core of a lot of these imbalances. And they're these two little tortilla-shaped glands. They sit above the kidney. So they're at the top of the kidney, is a little triangle. So if you look at a kidney, it kind of looks like it's the wig or a hat on a kidney. And it sits kind of, if you touch the back of your ribs, they sit right above just the last two ribs in your back. So I experience adrenal imbalances. I get these aches, like back aches, and it's the adrenals. So that can be an indicator. If you experience, like, it feels like muscle, sometimes you're like, is this a kidney thing? And then, if you have ever had a kidney infection, when they touch, even like tap your back, like, it is excruciating. When you have adrenal dysfunction and you're getting the ache, you can touch that and it's not painful, but it's sore. So that can be impactful. Beth, I do, but they don't run as powerful of a test as I use the RT for a lot of my hormones. I work with about 6 different lab vendors. So progesterone is really key. Progesterone is the relaxer hormone. It relaxes the body. And for women, when we get pregnant, it is what primarily is the hormone that allows the female body to expand. And so it allows the expansion and growth for a baby. So it allows the muscle tone and the ligaments to expand. And it is also a big part of fertility. So women who have infertility challenges, always progesterone is the core reason. But there's an underlying player involved. And that ultimately is that progesterone is a precursory hormone to estrogen. So we have, I don't want to get so crazy, like chemistry involved for you, but what I just want to kind of communicate in this, there are kind of steps, hormone structure steps, and certain hormones are needed to produce other hormones. So if you are missing one hormone and you need it to produce another one, and you already have this deficiency, you're going to have a multitude of deficiencies. So one of the things that I want to kind of highlight is that progesterone is needed to create and manufacture cortisol, which is a stress hormone. It's also needed to produce estrogen. It's also needed to produce testosterone. And what is very interesting of how the body works, there are all sorts of enzymatic reactions that occur. And there are all these signals from within our brain down to our ovaries or to our adrenal glands. And so there's all these series of like switches and controls that are happening. When we are under chronic stress, the pituitary and the hypothalamus send signals to the ovaries to say, we're not going to produce progesterone, we're going to switch, and we need more cortisol. So what happens is under any type of stressed circumstance, and this could be biochemical stress, physiological, like you have hurt your muscle. It could be you have autoimmunity. That's a physiological stress. It could be mental. It could be emotional. It could be environmental. And by the way, quarantine involves all of those, okay? Some of you have lost your jobs. Some of you are now balancing like a new job like us. We are homeschool parents. We're teachers now. And we are trying to run our businesses or our work from home. We now are not as social as we used to. We're not working out like we used to. We might not be eating all the same things that we used to. You know, life has changed. That causes the body to produce cortisol. So what happens is, just kind of in that scope, our bodies are going to be deficient or approaching deficiency in progesterone. So that is easily solved by a few things. My number one way of solving this, and I forgot to grab it before the show, is using progesterone cream. I love Source Naturals is one of my favorites. And you can topically apply that like inside the wrist, inside the elbow. You can apply it over the ovaries. That's an excellent point to address those receptor sites inside the groin, behind the knee. And depending on, obviously, we do testing, depending on your deficiency. Some of you may have entered already progesterone deficient, and now you're growing or going further into deficiency. Progesterone cream can be a life changer, and it is like a light switch. And so anytime I start to sense, I'm feeling symptoms, and a lot of women don't even recognize like those symptoms, you know, the PMS related symptoms where we have breast tenderness, we get bloating, you know, there's gastrointestinal changes. That's progesterone. There are all these kind of fluctuations as we're leading up to having our detox process, our menstrual cycles, a detox. That is progesterone imbalance. So, and in some layers, we do need that imbalance because we need the switches of hormones. But there's also the most important part is the ratio too between estrogen and progesterone. So adding a cream is seriously one of my best, we have a little fly in here, it's one of my best solutions for many of you. So huge, huge, huge benefit. The other thing that I get a lot of people say, I tried progesterone and it made me bloat. Well, I always ask what type of progesterone, because there are a lot of different progesterones. A lot of times, let me plug in Instagram real fast. Instagram, I'm going to take you off here for a quick minute. I'm going to plug you in. Sorry, got to get you back to get some energy here. Let me just plug this in real fast. So a lot of times people, sorry, YouTube, a lot of times people are taking progesterone. Let's see if that does that. They're taking progesterone and it's not, oh good, it's not effective. So what I recommend is that you use a cream and try it out initially at night, especially if you find you have hot flashes, night sweats, you have irritability at night, or you find you tend to have you kind of get the bloating at night. That is a very powerful way to use that. I, in many times in my life, have used it twice a day, but I test myself a lot. And it's always important for you to analyze your hormones and then assess. Now, I see Cheryl has a question. Cheryl Self, I'm over 65, not sure about this topic. Oh, yes, you should be sure, because it doesn't matter if you've gone through menopause or not. As I mentioned before, your adrenal glands, you always have them and they should be always functioning. Until the day that we take our last breath, we, men and women, are producing estrogen and progesterone and testosterone. So despite what you've been told or what you think, you still produce progesterone and you still produce estrogen. It might not be at the same levels because you're in a different time of life, but you need this information, plain and simple. So there is nobody in, really from like age 9 and 10, all the way up to the oldest individuals watching. You need this information. So this is applicable for men, for women, for teens, preteens. It's very important. And so just to quick kind of go over again, application. So testing is most important. A lot of my patients, I actually put them on progesterone the whole entire month. Others, depending on where they're at, I might have them, let's say they're missing cycles. I might have them start on day 15, 16 and go to where I want to try and have them be like 28, 29 for a cycle. But run tests, that's always my recommendation, to balance that out. So that's really, really important. But that gives you a better sense of if you're really deficient, you need it every day. And depending on the degree of symptoms, it is very powerful. Like I have patients and I experience it myself. I notice a difference sometimes within a few hours, especially with anxiety. It is a relaxer. So I mentioned before, progesterone is in the greatest quantity when we are pregnant, and it allows the expansion. It also is what allows the baby to travel through the birth canal. It allows for the contractions and the expansion, the growth of the expansion of the hips. So what happens is progesterone also relaxes our central nervous system. It relaxes our vascular channel, high blood pressure, high heart rates. It also functions as a neurotonic. It relaxes the brain and it helps to balance the neurotransmitters. So it is extremely powerful as a hormone. So that's number one. Everybody under any type of stress is going to be decreased. The progesterone levels will be decreased. So that's pretty much all of us, right? I'm talking to an audience that for sure we're experiencing a lot of stress, and they're all different stressors. There's financial stressors, which by the way, I have to do a quick little side note. If you guys want to participate in the free crisis investing 2020 in Instagram, that link, that is going to be also really helpful for us to kind of manage the stress, the financial stress of this. So now number two, this goes hand in hand with progesterone. Number two is estrogen dominance. And because stress, chronic stress, the need to produce cortisol drives progesterone low, we then see that ratio between estrogen and progesterone, the ratio increases. That creates, even when our estrogen levels are low, so for our ladies that are in their 60s and their 30s, 40s, 70s, 20s, it doesn't really matter. You can be in all stages of hormonal imbalance. I personally have been in all of those. So, nobody's in a static state. That ratio between progesterone and estrogen gets greater. And what happens is it puts us in what we call estrogen dominance. 50% of women are walking around estrogen dominant. And there's a multitude of reasons for that. The first is because progesterone has decreased. Cortisol steals or leaches progesterone from our body to make itself, so that drives it lower. Then we have excesses of estrogen. So there's four kind of core, four core estrogens that are at play. We have our steroidal estrogens. That's what we're producing. Our ovaries, we have estrogen receptors all over the body. Our adrenal glands produce them. Sometimes, those imbalances could be from other factors in the body. But then there's also synthetic hormones. So I have a lot of women who are taking birth control. I have a lot of women who are on estrogen blockers because of cancer. We also have phytoestrogens, so plant-based estrogens like flax, broccoli, cauliflower, kale. Those are all healthy estrogens, and they're other herbal estrogens. But those are things that are going to be sometimes in a greater quantity than we need. So we're eating healthy food, but sometimes we're getting too much of these plant-based estrogens. I don't know if I mentioned flax. Flax is in that category as well. Then, now this is really applicable because we're in a situation right now in this quarantine status where we might be exposing ourselves to more than normal xenoestrogens, and that's xeno with an X, X-E-N-O estrogens. Xenoestrogens are petrochemicals. They are synthetic, chemical made, man-made, produced, manufactured in labs. They are in plastics. They are in, they leach their way into our food. They are also solvents. So when we're talking about disinfecting our houses and our mail, our packages, our groceries, we're hand sanitizing like crazy, we're Clorox wiping and all the other stuff that we're doing to kill the virus, right? We're getting greater exposure to these xenoestrogens. That right now is a big player in terms of your hormonal imbalance. So xenoestrogens are also fat soluble. They build up over time. So we don't always so easily metabolize these. Our body doesn't know how to break up these really long bonded estrogens. And so that plagues us. And these petrochemicals, these xenoestrogens will cause us grief. And so let me roll down the different symptoms. And so before I do that, Cheryl says, is this okay if you've had hormone-related breast cancer? So that's always something that I always work closely with, and you should, your two physicians, your oncologist team, and then also your OBGYN. A lot of times women who've had hormone-related breast cancer are on blockers, and it depends on what type of hormone you had receptivity to, but ultimately balancing stress is going to be key. Okay, so, and good morning, Doris. She's in New York. Here, I'm going to run down this list of estrogen dominance. These are symptoms, indicators for men and women and teens that we have estrogen dominance. Difficulty losing weight, breast tenderness, ovarian cysts, fibroids in the breast tissue, fibroids in other parts of the body, cysts on, say, a kidney, thick uterine lining, or a lack of shedding. So scant periods or really heavy, really crampy periods, feeling sluggish, fatigue, depression, anxiety, anxiousness, panic attacks, fluid retention, hair loss, thyroid and adrenal dysfunction, allergies. You could have hives, rashes, and asthma are in those categories. You get cramping mid-cycle, you get cramping before your period, you get cramping during your period. You have really heavy periods, clotty periods. PCOS, which is a metabolic syndrome where there's imbalances in the blood sugar, insulin resistance, glucose intolerance, sometimes cysts on the ovaries, infertility, fibromyalgia, impotency, autoimmunity, and those are really key. So I see Miss E, I'm having all of those symptoms. Yes, so huge. That could be it for me. I'm so sensitive chemically. Yeah, so a lot of times, there are some factors here. So what I recommend for folks that feel like the petrochemicals are a huge factor, I recommend Force of Nature. And so let me just go to this one screen. Hopefully I haven't lost everybody. Let me see if I can get this one screen. I want to go back. Force of Nature is a natural cleaning solution that combines water. So you add water and there are these little solution packs of vinegar and salt. So vinegar and saline, and then this electrolyzer literally like chemically alters these natural compounds, toxic-free compounds, and it creates a cleaning solution. I recommend Force of Nature as the alternative to the Clorox wipes, all of those cleaning solutions that plague our body or that we're using that are going to be very burdensome. And so I don't think I posted a link on this round on YouTube. People get, let me see. And it's EPA approved. So that's good news. Let me go back. I'm going to add that on. And this is really crucial to minimize our exposure. We really have to kind of think outside the box too. So and this is where, gosh, why is this not letting me do this? Let me go back. I might have to add the Force of Nature link on the back end YouTube. I don't know what's going on. It's not letting me get into the back end of it. Let's see, 45 minutes. Actually, you know what? Let me go to the analytics. I'm sorry. Okay, so Force of Nature, good cleaning solution. But there are other things that you can do, like minimize the beauty products. So a lot of us are at home. Most of the time, I'm not wearing makeup. I only wear it for you guys, Monday through Saturday. And one of the things that can be helpful is assessing your beauty line, beauty care products. We have a lot of chemicals in our makeup, our lip gloss. Let me add this here. Okay, so cleaning, Force of Nature. I'm adding it right now. Okay, that should be good. Save. Okay, so I've added that to YouTube in the description box. Instagram, if you want the Force of Nature link. I think they've got a new coupon code for April. It does kill, it actually kills, it's been EPA approved to kill all viruses, including the existing virus now. So it is a much powerful solution, and it's actually cheaper than Clorox and Lysol. And in fact, you can't find that stuff now. So many of you I know are running out of things. Cytomegalovirus, thank you on my own, but your expertise has taught me so much. That's wonderful. I love that. The other thing too, to minimize these chemicals, if you eat organic, you eat clean, and you eat local, it tends to help. The synthetic hormones, I forgot to mention that we also, if you eat animal-based products, animals are fed synthetic hormones to speed up their growth process so they can get to process them faster. So if you eat conventional meat products, for sure that animal has been fed someone to make it grow faster. And what happens is when we eat that, it makes some of our own cells grow faster, i.e. cancer. So it can be very, very challenging. The other thing that I mentioned was some of the plastics. So I don't really mention this a whole lot on YouTube, but I really refrain from using the microwave. I think, especially like I grew up where my mom microwaves were like the 80s and 90s. So she would put plastic wrap on everything and microwave it. And I still am cleaning that stuff out of my body. And plastic wrap that gets microwaved, even if you put a paper towel over your food so it doesn't splatter, those chemicals get pushed into the food. So that is really, really big. And I know a lot of people, especially in your home setting, the microwave is a quick, easy go-to. And now we have those microwave meal bags, the steam bags, turkey bags. We're coming up on Easter. And I know a lot of people still, which by the way, today is Palm Sunday. So happy Palm Sunday. I feel like a total disconnect from like the season. So Easter coming up next week, a lot of people will be cooking larger meals, even just for themselves, just to continue with the celebration. I know we will do some sort of Easter dinner. People have hams. People will get turkeys as well. They put turkeys in these plastic bags. They put them in the oven. That's just like full on plastic in your turkey. It's disgusting. Same with the hams. However, like the stuff that they put in it, preservatives. So just be aware of that. Let me give you some ways to balance estrogen. The most important, there are really a few kind of core facets. Detoxification is the most important for estrogen. How we detox and get rid of estrogen is by eliminating it, like pooping out estrogen. We need to get our bowel movement enhanced. We need to do that by adding more fiber, magnesium, fish oil. So those three things are core for moving out estrogen. Fish oil actually helps to break out, it breaks apart the bonds. So estrogen has we go up to 13 chains in the estrogen bonds. So it's just a little chemistry thing, but it helps break those up. And so omegas are very powerful at lowering estrogen levels. So for any of my, patients or folks I work with that are concerned about cancer, omegas are crucial. You have to have omegas. If you're worried about cancer, and estrogen is a big hormone feeder of cancer, you need your omegas. Instagram, you guys, we have about 2 minutes. We'll pick back up on round 2. Okay. So just know if I lose you, we'll come back. The other thing that is an estrogen producer is coffee. So usually 2 cups. For the most part, most of us are drinking, you guys see my mugs. I usually have that half fill, but I know people who fill those up. Like some of those are 16, 20 ounces. That's a lot of caffeine. The caffeine enhances estrogen. So limiting your caffeine intake. Same with lowering nicotine, lowering alcohol. I know also a lot of folks in quarantine are reaching for wine, mommy juice and bubbly and, hard alcohol, beer, whatnot. Those all can cause toxicity in the liver. So detoxing also involves dandelion. So adding dandelion tea to the mix, as well as some magnolia, milk thistle is very powerful. So dandelion tea will actually get your bowels moving. So if you need a really good kind of natural bowel mover, the dandelion tea is really key. So that's really, really important. So fish oil is crucial. And for all of you ladies who are dealing with perimenopause, menopause, or feeling really, really hormonally imbalanced, I love to add in Efisoy. And I've got a link in the description box below. It's a Japanese-based fermented soy extract. Very different than your normal soy. And Instagram, we'll pick you back up on the other end. Let me just end Instagram, save the story. We're going to pick Instagram up again. We're at the hour mark. Oh, what a mess. So I started this an hour ago and then lost you guys for a little bit. Okay, let me go to Instagram. Okay, let's get them back. Hi, Instagram. We're back. We are talking about estrogen and your hormones influenced and imbalanced because of the virus and quarantine. So I was mentioning Efisoy before we cut off. So Efisoy is a powerful, you can grab this on Amazon. I have some links down below. Efisoy, honestly, it's one of my best hormone balancers for women who are experiencing a lot of these estrogen dominant symptoms. It has DIM, which is an awesome estrogen leveler. It is a metabolizer of estrogen. It helps lower the estrogen levels, but it also has maca, which is an adaptogenic herb that is progesterone oriented. So it's pro-progesterone. So it enhances that balance, which I love. And so good. And so supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, we can continue this topic for days, seriously. And I've been thinking about this. I haven't produced, I teach a lot and I travel. I'm not doing a lot of travel teaching right now. So I've got time and I've been thinking about putting together a hormone webinar. And it would be like a small fee, like maybe $15 or $20 to participate, where I really dig into these. If that's something that you guys think you would want to take part in, let me know, because I could talk for days about this. And so many of us could feel so much functionally better, mentally, emotionally, when our hormones are fully balanced. And it's such a complex topic that it's not just one hormone like your TSH or your, estrogen. It is just so complex. So if you guys are interested, I will start to draft that. I can usually produce these pretty quickly. So I can start to work on that later on today. And then the digital stuff. All of my helpers are in quarantine as well. I have some helpers in India. I have helpers here. And then I also have helpers in the Philippines. And so I actually have them help me with all of that. So there's a whole bunch of underlying pieces. But yeah, if you guys want that, okay, I've seen lots of comment, Terry, about it. Okay, so yeah, I would do that. And So just know, like, there's a whole lot more we can talk about, but I really want to cover things that you can immediately put into place that will help you. So for sure, FSOI, for any of you like Felicia that are experiencing hot flashes, FSOI is a game changer. And it is very, very powerful at balancing the stress that's causing the hormonal imbalances. And that's really what we're talking about today. I mean, this talk is about a major stressor in all of our lives. And there's so many layers to it. It's like we're trapped at home, we're in quarantine, we're socially isolating, so we don't see our friends, and we're trying to use digital, but then we're getting the exposure to, the blue light. We have to balance that. And then we want to know what's going on, but we really don't. So there's too much media. And, and then we're not exercising because our gyms are closed, and we are kind of exercising, but we don't feel motivated. And, we're comfort eating, or like I'm baking and giving it away to all of our neighbors. So, and by the way, we're doing more baking. We're going to make Easter cookies today. So one of our runs that I had for Instacart, I think I had her buy a whole bunch of organic unsalted butter so I can make a whole bunch of cookies. But so we're all dealing with this in different ways. And, out of boredom, sometimes we choose unhealthy habits. And those habits we're not habits, but you're like, I'm doing nothing. I need a little relaxation. I've got an extra bottle of wine. I'll have a glass or two. And then, two sometimes turns to half a bottle. And then you start to feel it. And, this is just the byproduct of the situation. So don't be hard on yourselves, friends. There's no judgment from me here. It is what we're dealing with. And so I want to let you know, it's one, validate what you're experiencing. To also validate the fact that this current status that we all find ourselves in globally, it is causing now and will continue to cause an assortment of hormonal imbalances. And so I just am identifying those. And Mimi says, I feel paralyzed with very poor appetite. Totally. And terrible hot flashes. And so it definitely is, it's a factor. So let's talk about testosterone next. And this is, testosterone's in this mix. It is not my three major ones, but I want to throw this out there because it'll make sense for the third one. Testosterone is a really interesting hormone that under stress, they're these switching mechanisms. So there are all these, we have certain enzymes. Enzymes are really amazing in the body. Enzymes so we have, Gabriel loves trains. We have a train track. And sometimes we build these train tracks and we go one way and then the train track goes another way and it splits. Well, at the core that causes a split is in the body is what we call an enzyme. And there are certain enzymes that get called up under stress to turn a hormone into a different hormone. So like with progesterone, there's a switch. Progesterone ends up being switched over to cortisol production. Well, in the female body, under stress, we end up having estrogen turn into testosterone. So the switch for women is a lot of that excess estrogen ends up being converted into testosterone. So a lot of women will start to see testosterone-related symptoms, irritability. Sometimes also, even though they're making testosterone, they'll see a low sex drive. There will be vaginal dryness that occurs. Men, here's the other opposite. So women under stress make more male hormone. And I'm going to explain the biological reasons for this. Men, their body it switches testosterone into estrogen. So women go into fight or flight mode and they get more masculine hormones produced. Men, there's a conversion where they have less testosterone and more estrogen. So let's break that down. And we're going to talk about cave women, cave men. So as cave women, we need, way back in the day, if we were, our little village was being attacked by a saber-toothed tiger, or we were being chased, the way the body would function is there'd be a switch. We need more testosterone to outrun this tiger or to run and have the utilization of testosterone for survival. So that mechanism still exists today. We have not evolved as cave women and cavemen in our electrical hormonal hardwiring. So men, the opposite occurs. Men convert testosterone into estrogen to protect their core organs. So, this is not funny. So all my men, I'm not making any jokes specifically at any of you who might be watching, but we all have men in our lives that it looks like they might be pregnant, maybe 3 months, 4 months, sometimes 8 or 9. My godfather, who has passed, but he used to look like he was 6 months pregnant. And that was his body's biochemical reaction to everyday stress. And it was estrogen oriented. So beer belly, beer gut, that's estrogen for men. Because the core organs in the male body need to be protected by excess fat. And estrogen will protect that area of the body. I hope that makes sense. So for men, I really dig into this, and I will leave this at that for men. I actually have 2 guides. I have a prostate checklist guide. I've got a link to that. And then I have my purchasable prostate fix guide. For men, when they are under stress or they have estrogen dominance, the reason they're experiencing estrogen dominance is because their body is changed the testosterone. So they're not manufacturing testosterone anymore. They're actually making more estrogen. Men are walking around making more female hormone than male hormone in their body. So men who have low T, and we all know these men in our lives. They might be, father-in-laws, grandfathers, fathers, husbands, even sons. We have men in their 30s that are experiencing this. So what happens is that male body, that conversion of testosterone to estrogen, testosterone to estrogen, it puts men in an estrogen dominant state. And the estrogen dominance for women, it gives more food, more hormone, chemical hormone. It allows that to switch to testosterone. Either way, it causes infertility. So if we're working with any infertility patients, we've got to look at both men and women and assess that stress, that enzyme. There's an actual enzyme. It's different for men and women, but it converts those sex hormones. And my third one, so we're getting to the end. The underlying root cause of all of this is a stress hormone produced by your adrenal glands called cortisol. And I test this. I test this all the time. These little test kits, we send these out to our patients. They literally, in the test kit, it's literally vials, saliva vials. There's this whole process, really easy instructions. You can do it in a day. There's a bag with the label. You send this off to the lab, and we get results back. They actually mail directly to you. And then if we need to go in, we can. But it gives you an idea of where your cortisol is in the morning, at lunch, at dinner, and right before bed. So cortisol is a variable. It's an always changing, a very fluid hormone level. A healthy, traditional, functional cortisol, we should have it highest as we're waking up in the morning. That's what naturally sets our circadian rhythm. It's cortisol. So we should be at highest in the morning, and then we should kind of go down at lunch, go down further at dinner, and then be at the lowest at night. So we go to bed. When we have good low cortisol at night, and then it slowly starts to peak around 3:34, it's on the incline at that time. It'll get to its highest peak like 6:37. We're waking up naturally. That's ideal. But most of the time, nobody's in that ideal. We have flip-flop. Like my men, particularly, they are sky high at night. That's when the PSA stuff's really happening for them. They're urinating frequently. They're getting up. They can't sleep. Then they're not sleeping. They're not rejuvenating their adrenals. They're dysfunctional. They've got toxicity going on. They're frustrated. They're not sleeping, and it's stress inducing. Women, they will spike. And a lot of times when you're waking up at night, 2 to 4, 1 to 3, it could very well be the cortisol that's a factor, and you're having a hard time getting to sleep. And then sometimes I have people that are flip-flopped where they're too high at night and they're too low in the morning, and they feel like they're dragging. Cortisol is the root of all evil in the body. And I really can't overstate this enough, where cortisol causes progesterone levels to go lower. It then causes an imbalance between the ratio of estrogen and progesterone. So then it triggers also estrogen imbalances and estrogen dominance. It also then can cause the conversion of, estrogen to testosterone for women and testosterone to estrogen for men. It's the control factor, and it is controlling all of that in our body. And it's all about fight or flighting. So our natural caveman, cavewoman factor of needing to survive, it's about needing to have body processes work in a certain way to keep us alive. We're in that phase. We are in survival phase, friends. Whether we really are accepting that or really mentally, it's hard to get. Like, it is really kind of hard to think, oh my gosh, we are in a pandemic. Like, what does a pandemic mean? It's life-threatening. It is globally life-threatening. It could kill people we know. It might have already. That's stressful. And that triggers a biological hormonal imbalance. There's no way to naturally avoid that, but there are ways to balance it. So we just need to know it's there. And then I have listed down below in the description box, I have a lot of different resources and tools to balance them. So the other thing I want to highlight is cortisol, when it's imbalanced, there's a function of the adrenal glands that signal and send chemicals up to the neurotransmitters in our brain. The neurotransmitters then control a lot of different body processes. Well, when there's dysfunction of cortisol, that is all, I don't want to say all, it's what a lot of the energy of the adrenals is functioning for. So it's dedicated to mass production of cortisol because we're in survival mode, and it depletes the neurotransmitter signals and the nourishing chemicals to our brain. So I actually do neurotransmitter testing. When I have folks that are really we'll kind of start off, you can do your adrenals. And then if you're really imbalanced or have experienced like major depression, chronic depression, insomnia, those are all neurotransmitter related. Like, there are enzymes that are lacking in the body that are neurotransmitter feeders. We can identify what neurotransmitters are imbalanced, like GABA or PABA and epinephrine, norepinephrine. So this is great for folks that are having major allergies. It's neurotransmitter related. The root cause of it is cortisol. So the cortisol can trigger depression. It could trigger serotonin, dopamine imbalances. It can be, for a lot of my, back in my practice in St. Pete, I worked a lot, partially because I had friends that were in this industry, but also we were really close to a lot of rehab centers. Florida is a really big rehab area. And a lot of my patients that had addictions, pain med addictions, that was huge. Actually, one of the, it's a crazy story. We had the FBI shut down one of our suite mates during the day. I was working with patients, but my front staff were like, oh my God. It was like full on movie style SWAT team came into the facility. It was like 2 suites down, and we were in this L-shaped location. We were at the corner of the L, but our handicap ramp, we had this really nice ramp for a lot of patients in wheelchairs and things. Well, they were at the very end. And so, yeah, full on SWAT team shut them down because of the issue with the pain management clinics. So we had a lot of patients, and I always run neurotransmitters on folks that have any type of addictive related substance abuse, or, any type of like shopping addiction, food addiction, any of those types of addictive personalities. It's one of those things. It's not always mind over matter. It's neurotransmitter driven, because the neurotransmitters are trying to feed themselves. They're trying to get the hit of the happy, and we can balance that. But at the core, it's all adrenals. So it's huge. Adches, you can actually, I ship international. So you can take the test in Canada and you can ship it to the US, and then they email results. So super easy. But yeah, so what I'm trying to say is that when the cortisol is high, the neurotransmitters will be low, an assortment of them. And those all will play a role in terms of how you're emotionally feeling. So it's not uncommon for you to feel all of this. You can feel the progesterone, decrease of, fatigue and anxiety and depression. You can feel the hormonal imbalances with estrogen. You can feel that testosterone kind of intensity. So there's that cascade, and it's not just one thing. It's this whole process of imbalance, and it affects a lot of different things. So yeah, we can test the addiction hormones for sure. So, and then I just want to finish this with a little caveat, and I will get way more in detailed in my hormone webinar that I promise I'm going to put together. One of the things, the biggest impact that cortisol, when we're in a stress state, cortisol will drive TSH levels low. And I know a lot of you write to me or comment on videos that you feel like your thyroid is imbalanced. And I have done tons of thyroid videos. I have a whole playlist that you can grab. I also have some downloadable. I have 4 or 5 purchasable like thyroid balancing protocols. But one of the players at play in all of the thyroid imbalances is cortisol. Cortisol will drive the TSH levels low. And a lot of times you get your thyroid tested. They only test TSH. And they'll say, oh, you're too low. You're at 0.25 or 0.45 or whatever the number is. And cortisol inhibits TSH balance. Cortisol also spikes insulin levels. So when you think about the underlying health conditions to this virus that have had people who wound up in hospitalization, in ventilation, those are individuals who are diabetics. Prediabetes is part of that. Cortisol, when it's high, we naturally have a high insulin because it's energy. It's the fight or flight. So we need the energy to run. We need the energy to move quickly. Insulin is a natural, and we can chart this. We've done this before. We'll do a blood spot and pair it up with the cortisol. So we'll get insulin and get the cortisol each time, and it goes down or goes up where cortisol and insulin are high or low. So there's directly that correlation. Then there's a whole bunch of other conversion points, T3 to T4, reverse T3. But I want you to know that there is a direct correlation between cortisol and adrenal imbalances, we call it dysfunction, and your thyroid gland. So that could very well be a factor, an underlying condition for any of you who feel like your thyroid's out of whack. We always go back, like in functional medicine, I don't first look at the thyroid. Conventional medicine, that's where they go. I look at the underlying factor, and that is the adrenal gland. So love your adrenals is my message. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. But I've included a whole bunch of links down below where you can get access and information. You can do tests. You can download some of the guides that I have. And also employ relaxation techniques. You can use herbs. And I have a lot of those tips down below. Some of my patients need additional adrenal support. So I've listed a few really good adrenal balancers, and those are very particularly powerful at helping support the adrenals. If I ever get around to writing a book, this would be what I would write about, because it's the least discussed topic and the most important, powerful hormone function that controls everything, and that can cause us to have it's hell. It literally can cause a crazy assortment of symptoms and imbalances that makes our lives internally, biochemically, a living hell. And so that is what I wanted to talk about today. I wanted to really kind of dig into first, I always ask, how are you guys doing? And many of you are like, I'm not doing great, or I'm feeling hormonal, or I have hot flashes. And so I started to see those conditions and thought, we need to really address this. So Remnant said, if you wrote a book, I'd purchase it. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I need to write a book. Sometimes we're our biggest blockers. And so that is maybe what I can do with a lot of the extra time. I just need to have some way of dictating it. I can totally do that easier than I think sitting down and writing it. The problem is I have too many ideas up here and not enough organizational structure to get it all out. And Brian keeps telling me, like, just focus, do one thing, do it really well, and put it out there. And I'm like, I've got a ton of things. And so that tends to be one of my challenges. But I totally know that this is really the core of my practice. I do a lot of things. I do detox, I do lymphatics. That's a big core. And I love that aspect of my work. But without this work, I can't get the success I get in lymphatics, because most lymphatic providers only do lymphatics and it's very superficial. But I do the deeper work. So I combine all of this always with every aspect. If we're healing the gut, if we are balancing the hormones, if we're resolving infertility, which I've done in my own body and have a cute little 4.5-year-old who's eating us out of house and home. He's like in some growth spurt mode. So that's really fun. And so quick question, Beachy Chick 6, could these issues cause daily headaches? Absolutely. So what I recommend is for sure with headaches, number one, progesterone cream. Game changer. Yeah, little Gabriel, he's my cutie pie. So yeah, so that in a nutshell is why for like Tanera Green, my menopause is in overdrive, having lots of hot flashes. Absolutely. Miss E, my face is always swollen, fluid retention for sure. Let's see, Teresa, do you recommend omega-3 vitamins? Yes, I do. I actually like, let me write this down so I can put the link out there. I love a brand called Green Pastures. They're a US-based company. And oh, Gabriella, that's great. Beautiful name. So Green Pastures is what I recommend. That's what I take. It's a cod liver oil. It's fermented, so it's least processed. It's rich in D3 and K2, very powerful things. So in cytomegalovirus, I can send you the one that I love, that I use. And Chandra says 7-year-old girl has thyroid issues and GI issues, but 0 insulin issues, acid reflux, and overweight, and difficulty sleeping. We have done so many tests. Have you guys done parasite testing for the 7-year-old? So, and employed any type of detoxing process. So when 7-year-olds present with early type of pre-hormonal type of imbalances, there's usually something else going on. And so I would look at that, and test out. So I'm going to put out something for Chandra. Test out, grab some, black walnut. It's a liquid herbal. My favorite brand's Herb Farm. They're really high quality, herbs. Try that. That's very powerful, but potent and gentle enough for a 7-year-old, like 10 drops twice a day. That can really help. A lot of times people don't realize, but we have pathogens that we carry in our body. I mean, our DNA is 99% bacteria. And so we naturally have bacteria. Part of it cleans our body. It helps us balance, helps us function. But sometimes we get exposed to things that cause us imbalance. So I would definitely look at that for her. So, and let me know, Chandra, how that goes. Okay, so Decor by Val one says, my husband is listening. I need him to believe in functional medicine. Oh, you have his attention. Yay, wonderful. Well, I'm happy. So, the thing is that at the end of the day, it's all about how does the body function. And functional medicine, the big difference with us is we don't just look at like, oh, here are symptoms and here are things to address the symptoms. We say the symptoms are a language of the body. And so what is the body telling us? And instead of focusing on one area like cardiology or endocrinology or gastrointestinal, we have to look at the whole body because we're a symbiotic entity. So within our body, everything is working and functioning. And when one thing's imbalanced, something else will be imbalanced. It is this kind of ebb and flow. And so when there's imbalance here, it has to adjust. It's like the ripple, you throw a rock in the ocean or a lake and it ripples. Well, that's how the body works. And so it's, I always kind of laugh, like it's not rocket science, but it's just a different way of how we are taught to assess symptoms versus how conventional medicine addresses it. They address it most of the time with the white paper and scripts. And now they do it all on their computers. And it's taken away looking at the whole body. And so we have to look at the whole body because nothing works on its own in the body. Just like humans, we are not on islands. We work together and we work best when we're working together. So it is one of those things where we have to look at the whole to address, maybe there are several areas, like for instance, with Chandra, with her daughter, the thyroid is one area, GI is one area, insulin would be, the pancreas, and then acid reflux is the stomach. Overweight would be metabolic, so it could be thyroid, it could be hormonal, and then sleep. In conventional medicine, she'd have 7 or 8 doctors. They'd all try and prescribe her medicine for all of that. And none of them are looking at maybe all of these things are symptoms of something, one single root cause. And that is where we miss the boat. And I'm not dogging conventional medicine because I work closely with doctors. I use conventional medicine in my life. And it has a place. And emergency medicine, trauma medicine, for sure, that is where it works the best. And so like currently in the state with the virus, we have physicians that are doing the absolute best. And, the FDA is cracking down on a lot of the supplement providers and also individuals like myself and other individuals that are, trying to make recommendations. They do not want any protocols that are saying there's a cure, nothing's been proven. We know this, there's no vaccine, there's no conventional or naturopathic protocol that solves this problem because it's unlike anything we've ever seen. But we can assess the whole body. And how I approach it is, I'm not going after curing anything. What I want to do is I want to support all these underlying conditions. We can address those. And there's nothing wrong with balancing diabetes. There's nothing wrong with supporting the lung function. There's nothing wrong with supporting cardiovascular health and healing the heart. And that is how, as a functional medicine provider, I'm addressing this. So that's one of those things that, that's my soapbox. So cytomegalovirus said, I stopped using Western medicine. I do use Cairo off all meds, lost 50 pounds. Awesome. So much healthier, tired of doctors throwing drugs, wasteful tests, finding nothing in procedures. Okay. So yeah, that's absolutely true. The supercalifragilisticexpialidocious says it's just awful, the system. And it is a system. And I know the doctors, they don't go to school to make money. They go to school to help people. And, it's just kind of what they know. And so I don't always blame them. It's just what they're taught. I blame the bigger industry. There's this triangle, insurance and then, insurance, big pharma. And then you've got, healthcare systems that are also in that. What I find challenging, and this will be my last thing, because I could go on forever about this, but most of the times patients don't even know what tests they might need. They only get the tests that are going to be paid for by insurance if they have insurance. That to me is the biggest devastating part of our current system, where I would pay out of pocket for anything that addressed whatever issue I was trying to resolve. And now we have a lot of low cost providers. There's a commercial side to lab testing. Even, there are places and facilities you can go and get an MRI and a CT scan for a few $100. So, but if you went to insurance, if you went to a hospital, insurance would get billed $5,000 and you'd have a huge deductible. So it's this weird dynamic where I know a lot of patients I work with, they're not even given options of going beyond what's provided for or paid for because the insurance won't cover it. They can't get authorization. but it minimizes your capacity to choose. And so that I find is a real problem. Okay, so Whitney says, is tocopherol acetate okay to use topically? Is listed as the ingredients. Yes, it is fine. So there are different vitamin E's and there are different synthetic versions. So yes, and topical is very different than internal as well. So the topical, there's a different kind of methodology in terms of the absorption. So I put that out there. I need to do that follow-up video. What places can you get an MRI or CT scan on your own out of pocket? That you'd have to research, just do out of pocket or private CT MRI. There are a lot of places. I love functional medicine. You are awesome. Thank you. Okay. So one of the things that I think is really, really important is just to know that at the end of the day, regardless of whatever diagnosis or label you get put on because of the hormonal imbalances, does not mean that is going to be there forever. So I have a lot of women I work with, particularly, and this is very emotionally challenging. They get told they're infertile for life. Like, you are never going to be able to have a child because you've got all these hormonal imbalances. Okay, first of all, that's not true. Two, it sets up where women think that they're going to be infertile, forever. And this men too, we have men now being involved greater in fertility testing because we've identified men need to be assessed. It used to be women only that we were assessing. Same thing with, men in their PSA levels. So just know that this is a constant, we're constantly moving, body's constantly changing, it's evolving, and we can alter and adjust any imbalance. So I just put that out there. So we've been on for a while. I want to thank everybody for joining me today. I hope all of you have a good rest of your Sunday. I hope you'll join me tomorrow, 9 a.m. I'll be putting out another video tomorrow for separate from my 9 a.m. show. So I'll be working on that today. And I hear my little 4.5-year-old coming down the stairs, and I'm going to go join them for mid-morning breakfast. I hope all of you have a great weekend. And please, if you enjoyed this show, found this helpful, give me a thumbs up, hit the share button, share it to all your communities, and Instagram, do a screen grab, share on your stories, tag me. I appreciate that communication. And I also am going to commit to working on a hormone-related webinar so that we can dig further into this and I can talk more about solutions and additional resources. So appreciate your time. We're in this together. We'll get through this together and it will all be okay. So friends, have a wonderful Sunday. I hope you do some relaxation for yourself, TLC, and just enjoy the free time that we have and nourish and rejuvenate yourselves because you deserve it. And that will help your hormone balance as well. So thanks everybody. Bye Instagram. All right, YouTube. Thank you so much for joining me, everybody. As always, I really appreciate it. And if you guys can, please hit the thumbs up button. And when this gets all wrapped up, if you go and comment inside the video itself, that is very helpful. That has been helping me appeal all of these videos. So slowly I'm winning more appeals because of the demonetization, but they still are not promoting the videos for some reason. So anyway, well, it's been great hanging with my peeps. You guys are my peeps. Thank you again for tuning in. I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a great weekend. Bye, everybody.